it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets, and I wanted to do a tutorial on the Cuttlebug. A friend of mine was asking me about die cutting machines the other day, and I went back through my YouTube channel and realized that I didn't have any tutorials on the Cuttlebug. I thought I did, so I thought that I would make one real quickly. So this is the machine itself. It's probably about 10 pounds, if that. There's the handle, and for storage, just fold the handle back into there so it makes it so the handle doesn't stick out. And then you have the two flaps that you fold down, and then the other side is plain. And you can use either side as the front or back. It doesn't really matter because the handle goes both ways. So the next thing that it comes with 3 plates. At least mine did. I don't know if there's a newer version. I got this not this past Christmas, the Christmas before, right after Christmas. So it's only been a little over a year, but I don't know if there's a newer version. But mine came with this A plate, which is the base for most of your sandwiches, and I'll show you how to make those before you go in. So that's the A plate, is the thick white plaque. And then you get 2 B plates, which are just plastic, and you can see mine are warped and well used. I use them to cut things and emboss. So those are the plates that it comes with, and what I'm going to show you next, the next thing you need are embossing folders. Cuttlebug makes their own embossing folders, and then I've also picked up these folders, and they're by Doris, and I found them at AC Moore, and they're usually on sale for like $1.99, at least where I live, so I pick them up when they're on sale. And if you notice, there's quite a size difference between the two. These I found work best on the smaller note card ones. It's a little bit smaller than the front of the note cards that I use, and those are 4 by 5.5. You usually get, because the dots or the whatever the pattern is doesn't go all the way to the edge. If you look here, there's the blank area, so even though the folder says that it's whatever size, I think it's like a 4.25 by 5.5, which is actually a standard card. The note cards I use are a little bit smaller. It won't go from top to bottom of your card because of the space at the bottom. You either have to run it through the embossing system again, or cut it down and leave a border around the outside of it, which is what I usually do. And that might make sense later on. So then this is the larger one. This is for the 5 by 7 cards. And usually I do the same thing because, see at the bottom here, I think you can see that there's a little bit of extra room there as well as on the sides. So it doesn't exactly fit on a 5 by 7, so I just put a little border around it. So I'm going to show you how to make your sandwich next. I'm going to put this Cuttlebug over to the side. We'll use it in a minute. What you're going to do is take your A plate and put that down, and then you take one of the B plates. Some of the important things to remember about the B plates, so that they don't warp like this. This one isn't too bad. Rotate the one from the bottom to the top the next time and flip them over. They can go in either way. The B facing down or the B facing up, it doesn't really matter. So just try to rotate your plates either every time or every other time you use them, just to get the longest life out of them possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Swiss Dots Cuttlebug folder, and I'm just going to take a piece of scrap cardstock and place it in the folder. So when you place it in there, you want to make sure that your pattern is okay, the edges, that dots, you know, if you don't want dots folding off, like if you look at the bottom, there's a little space there, and the dots at the top are, I think there's a partial dot, so I can move it down. So the best thing to do is just, you can even look at the back and line it up. So I'm going to line it up like this, then that's good. Put it in the folder, place it above the A and B plate, and then put your other B plate on top of it. And this is what they call a sandwich for your Cuttlebug. So each die cutting system has a different sandwich that you make. The Big Shot has platforms that you'll use. So it's all the same general principle, but there's subtle differences. So what you're going to do, I'm actually going to turn this to the side so that, turn it to this side so you can see with the handle. Oops, excuse me. So what you're going to do is stick the plates in on the one side, and then you're going to take the handle and turn it until the plates come out at the other side. It shouldn't be really, really tight. Sometimes when you do the die cutting, it will be tight. You shouldn't really have to force it through there. So I'm going to close this up for 1 second and put it off to the side. So you're going to take your sandwich out, and then you're going to open your embossing folder, and there you go. You're going to have your nice deep embossed image. So this is the Swiss dots one. So that's one thing that you can do with the die cutting machine. So you'll notice that these are two of the folders that I talked about. So I'm going to show you one of the other things that you can use. These are they're like foam dies. And you can't really see on here, but this is a clock. Let me get it up closer. This is a clock, and then they have the hands. And this is what it looks like, the front of it, just a little. This is a Tim Holtz Alterations die. And this one is a Sizzix Christmas Ornament Light and Stockings die. So if you look at it, you get the stocking, the ornament, and the light. So for this one, what I'm going to do is take another scratch piece of paper, and I'm going to place it over. You can put a piece of paper over the whole entire thing. You can put it over just the one you want to cut out. But I'm going to cut out a stocking real quick. And I'll just show you. So I place the paper over it. So then what I'm going to do is, instead of the A plate, because if you notice, they're both really thick. If you tried to put everything in there together, it would never fit in the Cuttlebug. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a B plate. You're going to take the die itself and place it on there, and you're going to take the other B plate and put it over that. I haven't done these in a really long time, so I'm almost positive this is the way that you feed it through, but we'll see in a second. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to open the Cuttlebug back up. You are going to stick the sandwich back in, and you're going to crank it through. This one's a little bit more difficult than the other one. But then you're going to open it up, and voila, you have the stocking cut out. So you can run a piece of white cardstock through it and get the white fuzz for the top, or you know, take an entire piece of red cardstock through it and cut out all three things, the ornament, the stockings, and the light at the same time. And you can use them on cards. I've actually made, let me see for a second, a really cute Christmas card using the stockings. And I just used some glitter glue, and then I cut out, these are punches, and then put some glitter glue over top of that. So they look really cute on a card. That's another way that you can use your die cutting machine. So these are the thicker dies, and Tim Holtz does have a bunch of them. So this one isn't Tim Holtz, this is just a regular Sizzix, and the other one is Tim Holtz for Sizzix that I have. So that's, those are some of the things that you can do with the Cuttlebug. But before I go any further, I wanted to show you how to store your embossing folders, or at least how I do. I have a ton of them, and I have both sizes, the smaller ones and the larger ones, and I wasn't sure how I was going to store them, and I was at AC Moore the one day, and under all the Dies folders there was this black binder, and this kind of reminds me of the CD cases that we used to have in our cars. It probably makes me seem really, really old that I had CDs. So this is what they look like when you open it up. Kind of like the CD thing, and they just have different pockets that hold the dies in place. And I'll show you real quick. These are cut and emboss ones. So what you do, if you look at this, this is Nemo, and then there's the die. So you emboss it, and then you cut the die out. So it's actually really cute, and then I've run some distress ink over it, so it can make them look orange and white. So this is how I store my embossing folders. What I was not aware of before I bought this was that it's only for the smaller ones. It's not for the real large ones, the Dries one that I showed you that was for the 5x7 cards. So I just store those in one of my little cubes in my shelving unit because I don't have that many of them. But just so you're aware, it's only for the smaller ones. And I also have a bunch of border ones and real teeny tiny ones that I store in the back of this. So this one's completely full, so it does hold, I think it's like 48 embossing folders. So, ton of them, but it is completely full for mine. So there's that. And then the last thing I wanted to show you was how to use Nestabilities Dies. I started using these when my sister and brother-in-law needed something for their fans for their wedding. They got married in Cancun, and they wanted to put instead of having a program, they wanted to put a fan together that had all the details for the wedding. So what they decided to do when they made a mock-up one, they decided, both he and his mother decided that they thought they needed a picture on there. So they needed a way to cut a hole out in the middle of the fan. So we went to AC Moore and we were asking the people there, and I saw these dies and I thought, this is perfect, I can use this Cuttlebug for it. Well, what I didn't realize was because these dies are wafer thin, if you look at these and then the difference between the thickness of the embossing folder and the thinness of the die, it doesn't look like it's that much of a difference, but it really is, because you need a lot of pressure to cut these out, cut the pieces out. So I scoured YouTube and I found that there's something called a C-plate that you can get for these. And it may sound cheap, but the C-plate is like 10 bucks. So I decided that instead of using a C-plate, I found someone else that had recommended that you use a couple of sheets of cardboard. So that's exactly what I did. These are from an old shoebox, and then this is a shim for sometimes it's funny, some of these dies, even though they're all Nestabilities, the ones that I have, sometimes you need an additional shim in there, and sometimes just these two are fine. So it all depends on what set I'm working with. So usually I put this in there because it can't really hurt. Don't put more than 3 pieces of cardboard or shims in there. It's not good for the machine, and it'll probably get stuck. So I use these 3, and I will show you the system. So there's a couple things that you can do. You can use these and just cut out a single one. You can use it to cut out a border. I've used them for sentiments. I did it on the video that I did last night. I showed you this one. I used it for the sentiment, and I used the book one for the sentiment on this one. I do it a lot and I actually even did it on this one, the smallest one, for the Girls Rock one. So I use them a lot for cutting out shapes to put sentiments on. But the other thing that you can do is create like a bordered cutout. So what I normally do is, see there's some washi tape on this. I do it just so that it holds it in place, especially if I'm cutting. So say I was cutting this out and then cutting this piece out. So what you would have is this middle part right here would be the cardstock. This would be cut out, and then the cardstock would be cut out all around that. So what I do is, to hold the thing in place, I use the washi tape. So you put it here's the edge. This is exactly where it's going to cut. So if you don't have a big enough piece of paper and you have it hanging off, just make sure that that little blade part isn't hanging off the cardstock. So what I do is I'll put the one piece down and then put the washi tape on to hold it down into place. And I do have little pieces of washi tape stuck to the sides of my table. My cat doesn't try to eat them. Just for instances like this. So then what you're going to do is do the same thing on the other die. And it doesn't matter where you put them down, just as long as it's kind of secure. So then what you're going to do, usually I cut my cardstock down to just a little bit bigger than the piece that I need. So then what you're going to do is make another sandwich. So you're going to take the A plate, you're going to take a B plate, you're going to take the things that you want die cut, then you're going to want to take your pieces of cardboard, and I like to place them right over the center, right, so that the most pressure is right where those dies are. And then I put this one on top of the whole entire thing, and then I put my B plate on top of it. So again, take the Cuttlebug out one last time, and run it through the machine. This one's probably going to be a little bit tighter. You can hear that little crack. That's fine. It's not cracking any of your pieces, but if you see, it does sometimes, it'll start to cut into the plastic. So then remove all 3 of the cardboard layers, and hopefully it cut through all 3 pieces. So, and it did. So it left that shape, see? Right in the middle. And then you also have this shape if you need it. And then you also have this cutout, which you can use for a mask. So that's how you use the Cuttlebug with your die cut pieces. You can use them individually, so if I just use this little one, this is exactly what I would have gotten out of it. So you can see it fits right back into where that die came from. You can also emboss with them. I'm not really good at embossing with this. I don't really know how to. It says, sometimes it'll say on the back of the packages that you get, but I don't really use this for embossing. I use it for the pieces for die cutting. So that is how you use the Cuttlebug. Basically, it's just a simple overview or what I use it for. So I hope that you found this helpful. I hope that if you were trying to figure out if you were going to get the Cuttlebug or not, I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me below the video or private message me. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye!